Welcome back to Winning on Taxes. In this episode, we're going to focus not so much on the IRS, but one of the biggest things that burns people out there, which are tax scams. There's all kinds of scams out there, and they're getting worse. If you haven't been bit by this can get you in a lot of trouble with the IRS, with your tax returns, and state agencies as well. So, again, there's so many different ways that people can get scammed today. The scammers, a lot of them are overseas. They're very sophisticated. They are really expert at preying on people, on their emotions, on their vulnerabilities, especially people that are older. But it happens to people that are younger as well. So don't think this only happens to the elderly. But part of what we're going to talk today about is how to protect yourself, how to protect your family members, especially older members of your family, and what to be aware of to avoid these kinds of scams, and understand how the IRS and tax agencies reach out to you. So they're very aware of these scams, and they're doing all that they can to protect people from that, and that means that they are being very careful themselves. Um, Whenever you call it to the IRS, you have to do a lot of verification. You have to have your name, your date of birth. You have to have your address, whatever address is on file. You have to have your social security number, your name. I've even had them ask for someone's parents' names, which is a little ridiculous. Sometimes it can be that bad, but if there's identity fraud or some kind of issue on a case, they've even gone there. That's the exception. That's not the rule. It's like, what do you want? My blood type 2? But it can be very, um, it can be very put people on edge because the IRS's job is to protect your information. That's one of their main jobs. And sometimes they're great at it. Sometimes they're not so good at it, as when they get hacked, which again has happened pretty much to every government agency out there. There's only so much you can do in today's day and age to protect yourself from hackers. But protecting from obvious scams is what we can definitely do. And that's the information that I want to talk about today. So I'm going to talk first about just some of the kinds of different scams, get your head thinking, okay, wow, different angles that they can come at people. One of it's becoming even more and more common today are love triangles. And if you're a guy, you might think you're talking to some young gal over in China, and it's probably some 40-year-old middle-aged guy scamming you, trying to reel you in and using a different voice or whatever with AI today. But I haven't seen so much AI use. It is coming in for like the robocalls and mass calls that happen. But usually for like the love triangles, it's a lot more sophisticated than you would think. And I've had elderly women targeted. I've seen people targeted, from overseas or locally. A lot of charity scams where they try to get your financial information. One of the most common scams are, look, we're going to give you this reward, or you have to give us your financial information to qualify for an award, and we'll direct deposit into your account. Be very careful with those because those are very clear scams. And a lot of scams are just trying to get your information. You've won a prize. We need to fill this out. Your bank's trying to get a hold of you. And one that we see frequently, and this is an up and coming thing with crypto, it's a very highly unregulated market. There's so many different types of crypto out there. And same, there's plenty of investments that are shadier than your average investment. Be aware, because those are the kinds of things, if you have money invested in a source and then you try to take some money out and they say, well, you have to pay the taxes first. If you're taking 100,000 out of an account, you can have the taxes withheld from that 100,000. But if they're asking you to pay out of pocket to cover the taxes before they release your funds, it's just a scam. They've already taken the money that you gave them. They've already taken it. And by asking for you to pay the taxes on it is another big scam out there. I've seen it too many times. Be aware. And so it's interesting. One gentleman asked me a true story. He's like, "Well, can I invest in Bitcoin? That's kind of more on the dark web or whatever that the IRS doesn't know about." I'm like, sure you can. First of all, it might not be legal. Second of all, the more the shadier it is, the less likely you're ever going to see your money again. And this is a guy that had already been ripped off. So buyer beware, be very careful. And we're going to talk about that a lot today. There's so much to cover, and we're just going to skim the top of the surface here. But we'll have more right after this break.